Boris Johnson's trademark character was born when he left his old headmaster laughing following an onstage altercation, a new BBC podcast has found, which uncovered his former life as a dweeb. As the dust begins to settle on Boris Johnson's time in charge of Britain, many pundits are reflecting on who will replace the Conservative as leader. Among the names being touted include ex-Chancellor Rishi Sunak as well as the likes of Penny Mordaunt, Steve Baker and Sajid Javid. Mr. Johnson's reign was effectively ended on Thursday when he announced his resignation from the post, noting he would stay in a caretaker capacity until his replacement was found. His time as Prime Minister began with a resounding election victory in 2019, where his Conservative Party clinched a whopping majority against Jeremy Corbyn's Labour. While he enjoyed a series of successes in government, including getting Brexit done, and his support for Ukraine in its ongoing conflict with Russia, critics have attacked him over a number of issues such as his record during the coronavirus pandemic. And a new BBC podcast titled Boris will aim to shine even more light on the outgoing Prime Minister, as those closest to him discuss what the politician is really like. Promoting the series on BBC Breakfast this morning was its host Adam Fleming, who spoke about how the podcast was formed, and what to expect from it. Mr. Fleming said, "It's been really interesting. So simultaneously we've been reporting on Boris Johnson's resignation, and that speech outside Downing Street, where he sort of had this easy come, easy go attitude. But then at the same time making this new series for Radio 4 and BBC Sounds about his history as a person, and you suddenly realize where this attitude comes from." He has lived his whole life in quite a chaotic environment with lots of quite bad, tough things happening to him, and people abandoning him and him abandoning other people. And HES just kind of lived on a higher wire the whole time. So that's why the them's the breaks thing, that's why he said it. That's just what his whole life has been like. But as the series began taking shape, Mr. Fleming admitted some of the revelations about what Mr. Johnson was like, particularly as a child, were quite frankly quite weird. Among the conversations Mr. Fleming included with Andrew Gimson, Mr. Johnson's biographer. In discussion on the podcast, Mr. Gimson reportedly thought he had pinpointed the exact moment that the Boris character that we all go to know was born. Mr. Fleming continued, "It was when he was at school, at Eton, and he was doing a play and he forgot his lines on something like the third word of his first line, and he ended up having banter with the person off stage who was prompting him. And he brought the house down, including the headmaster. Everyone was laughing, and I think it's quite convincing to say that that was the moment that whole character was actually born." And finally, Mr. Fleming recalled some other anecdotes that demonstrated how Mr. Johnson's character had morphed into the man the nation sees today. He added, "Interestingly, up until that point, that's not necessarily exactly who Boris Johnson really was. He seems like he was quite shy. He was a dweeb, didn't have good hearing for the first 8 or 9 years of his life. And he told Michael Cockrell that his favourite thing to do as a kid was get on the London Underground, on his own, and go to the British Museum, and sit in the corner and just read a book. Mr. Johnson is expected to continue in his position as leader until October, when the Conservatives may announce who will replace him. Mr. Sunak is now many bookmakers' favourite to take over as Prime Minister, while others including Ben Wallace, Liz Truss and Tom Tugendhat are also well placed. John Hill, of Coral, said, ever since Rishi announced his campaign, punters have been keen to back the Chancellor to win the Conservative leadership race. Sunak is now the clear favourite ahead of Ben Wallace and Penny Mordaunt respectively.